Come on in, motherfuckers. And I wasn't prepared. No. Except I was. Because the guns was all behind me. No.
White women let the vampires in. No.
White lady and the Asians let the vampires in.
Black people was just minding their own business.
And then you let the vampires in. Let the vampires in. Let the vampires in.
Yikes. Sinners. The movie starring Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, Delroy Lindo,
Omar Benson,
Benson
Wumi
Miller. Wunmi Mosaku,
Wumi Mosaku.
Jamie Lawson.
Jamie Lawson.
Yeah. So we got some. We got a hell of a cast.
Miles Catton. That was his name. Miles Catton.
Definitely a star-studded cast, which I mean is going to be enough to bring in a lot of people to come see this movie. The word of mouth has definitely done its job. Obviously, as we mentioned in Behind the Cape, a 6% drop from week 1 to week 2.
Unheard of.
So obviously, we've got something good here. I know you probably want to get into the negatives that you thought about this movie, but
we can start with the positives first.
We can definitely start with the positives.
Start the positives first.
I mean, Coogler is just dope with the cinematography. I don't think there's not a lot of directors that can touch him with the cinematography. Everything looks as it's supposed to, gets you really immersed into the movie. I do think they did a lot of good character work for some of the characters to really get you, into where you need to be for most of this movie.
I enjoyed Delroy Lindo. I enjoyed Wumi. I thought her relationship with Michael B. Jordan was a lot more believable than that of the twin that was with Haley Steinfeld.
You know what I didn't like about, I guess, at least the introduction of their relationship with Haley Steinfeld is that, okay, I get it, your mom died, but obviously we can't expound on how much your mom or either one of you really meant to either of the twins, because we can't get into the backstory of it. So I think that left a little bit, obviously we can't tell that story because it would take too long, but it left a longing there. It was like, why do I care?
Yeah, sure. I think it was just a little bit more genuine. The black scent really worked on it for me with Steinfeld. So I think it was just that was probably a little bit more of a personal point. It was easier for me to connect with or to see in a fully fleshed out light than that of, Haley Steinfeld and Michael B. Jordan. Now, one thing that I will give them credit for in this film is how much they worked to really get the cultural feel of the time that this movie was set in. I think that they did a good job of matching dialogue in terms of the words that they use, the costumes, the lot of the feeling that led to some of those great shots that Coogler got in the early parts of these films.
So much so, I think they did such a great job there that some things that we'll probably end up talking about didn't really make sense to me. We'll get there.
There was, sure. I think the juke joint scene where he kind of walks us through the evolution of music when they're talking about Sammy and his quote unquote power to kind of transcend generations, future and past with his singing. That was a point that I wish that they would have expanded on more, especially since it seemed to be a pretty key point in the villain's motivation to try and grab Sammy. They just didn't do a great job of stretching that out and telling us why he was so important,
explaining the strength of his power.
Or what the direct connection was. What do you plan to do with Sammy? Why does Sammy need to die for you to do what you need to do, kind of thing. But that scene about the the evolution from the blues to jazz to ragtime to hip hop to rap. They even had some geisha music in there, when the lady was dancing with her husband. So,
and African music.
Didn't see no Puerto Ricans. Somebody tell Fat Joe.
Yo, I definitely thought it was jarring all of a sudden to see this electric guitarist come out of nowhere, or like
it was dope.
Some of the hip hop people. It was jarring at first, but then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, for a second there, I was like, yo, why? What?
Where'd this come from? Oh, okay.
But then it kind of played on itself. They continued with the dialogue, kind of giving you a.
Not that it was bad. I didn't think it was bad. It was actually good. It actually immersed you a little bit more into it once you figured out what we're doing.
It was a very good scene.
Yeah.
I also was not really. I did like the way that they introduced. What was it, O'Reilly?
Was that his name in it?
I think so. The main villain, the Irish guy. The way that he kind of came in and kind of subtly introduced himself, but then that led to a larger reveal. I kind of like soft openings like that for villains. It gives you a chance to kind of hang on the edge of anticipation to see what they are, what the threat is, what the dread is. You can almost feel it when they start to let the veil slip that they're not who they say they are. Mm-hmm. But then there's still this question of, okay, well, what can they do to me? What is going to happen? Why do I need to be scared of this person? You know what I'm saying? Even though you know it's something, but you don't know full on well until, the final drop. You mentioned a part of the scene where where that family opens up the door initially for him and he's landing.
I kind of wish I didn't see that for when we see him fly.
I was about to say, I saw that scene first, and I thought that scene was dope. Like, as Haley Stanfield is walking away out of that field, he shoots up in the air. I
kind of wish that caught me by surprise.
It was really dope.
When he first stumbles across that white family, when he's being chased by the Choctaw, the first thing that happens is he drops into wherever he was.
Yep.
And I immediately was like, oh, what the fuck? But then later on when he flies, I'm like, oh, he does fly. Okay, all right, that makes sense.
The music was very good. The soundtrack should be awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of positives. I think we pointed out Delroy, pointed out Woomy.
Killed it.
I think Michael B did a fantastic job. I think
too. I worried at times whether or not him being a twin was going to take me out of it, but it never really did. I mean, maybe besides like when we first saw them, I was like, okay. But no, like throughout the movie, I was like, okay, these are two different people.
Now, to get into some more critical parts of the review here, I think that even though they worked very hard to keep it culturally accurate and fitting the time, there were a point that kind of started the snowball for me, where things kind of started to unravel a bit logic wise. So if you remember when the initial 3 vampires show up at the juke joint, Smoke, Stack, Slim, everybody is hella apprehensive. They don't want these white people nowhere near that juke joint. The minute Slim sees them, or not Slim, as soon as Cornbread see them approaching, go get the twins. Go on now. Go ahead and get them. Hurry up. Right? Automatic apprehension. When Mary walks into the juke joint, I don't think you're supposed to be here. For Miles, right? Why in the fuck would you tell everybody in that town at the bus station or the train station, wherever the hell they was getting dropped off at, that you opening up a juke joint over here, y'all starting the night? Kind of feels like the exact reason why them random ass vampires showed up at your shit, because you told everybody in the goddamn town that where you was gonna be and that people was congregating. That also doesn't feel like a very common thing for black people to do at that time.
Yeah,
it's tell the masses where they're gonna be congregating in the middle of the night,
right?
In the deep south,
it'd be a more secretive thing.
It would at very least you go to maybe at the let out at church. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a food hall, a barbershop, a salon, where the people you can trust the people in the spot. I just found it very weird that they was out there announcing, "Y'all ready to sweat till y'all stink?
Come on down to Ray's Boom Boom Room."
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, even that they was talking amongst themselves. Yeah. You think if the overseer was over there, they've been talking about Ray's Boom Boom again. tiny detail thing, but it kind of snowballs a bit. I don't think that we will ever see, and this is just because it's been this way in every film this man has made at this point. I don't think we will ever see a black nuclear family survive a Ryan Coogler film. It just seems to be a decided decision to not tell a story about our culture through that lens. And I don't know when we're ever going to get there, because it's becoming less and less necessary to introduce broken homes into some of these narratives, and he's doing it anyway. Like, Fruitvale Station was what it was. You can't change Oscar Grant's life. We unfortunately can't get that man back as much as we want to. Can't re-solidify his family. And then that way it's tragic, right? And that was a story that needed to be told. And even though I feel like it ironically matches up with the rest of his projects, it's the one where he didn't have any control whatsoever over how that narrative was written. Mm-hmm. Then we move on to Creed. Creed was his baby that was created off of an established IP. It's a franchise that was already built. Rocky Balboa, Apollo Creed, right? Ivan Drago. Those characters already there. Apollo already was a towering figure for black people. He was already a legendary figure for black people. Mm-hmm. Why was it necessary to make him a deadbeat?
So that Adonis can come from the bottom.
Like, it's almost like there is no other way to write conflict for a character. There's no other way to write emotional strife for a character than making them lose a parent. And in this one, it's even more dire because they fucking killed him. He made a son murder his father. Now we going full-blown power. We going full-blown 50 Cent. And for what? Let me ask you, Josh. If that part of the narrative is not there, if we never get that story about Smoke telling how Stack had to shoot his father because he was abusive and he was beating on them, does that change anything about the movie?
Literally nothing.
Like, does anything, like, they already still have the complex about them always having to protect each other. They went to war together. They went about stealing from the Italians and the Irish, and he was able to protect his brother through all of that. So the protectism stuff is still there. Mm-hmm. Without you having to drag this move, like, not drag it, but to put that type of narrative on it again. Unnecessarily. And I'm just trying to figure, and we already know what the story is of Black Panther, so I'm just trying to figure out when we're going to stop doing this, because it's already unnecessary now. You know, there was a lot of talk about him trying to exemplify Black American culture, and I love that at a lot of points he does that, and it does seem to be a cultural moment that a lot of people are gravitating to, and that's positive. What's not positive is that, once again, one of our most popular IPs is going to be dedicated to producing content that is easily digestible from white people. White people naturally see us in broken homes. They naturally see us with derelict fathers or fathers who ain't shit. Mm-hmm. With women who have to take up the responsibility for the entire household. That's already how the bird's eye view of our community is coming out.
So give it to them?
Why give it to them like that? Why can they have thrillers where the protagonist not only makes it out, but can have his damsel and save his youngling and save his prodigy, not get into a random fight with the KKK at the very end of the movie so I can die and meet up with them in the afterlife? That is just not a prosperous ending for me. Again, now we were talking empirical. We're going back to my personal preference here. It is not my personal preference to always seek beauty in our deaths. Our death is not something to be held up as some shining achievement, as some beautiful object. And our trauma is not a vehicle by which to constantly tell the stories that you want to tell.
And in some effect, you're normalizing it.
Like, I don't need to have murdered my father to be a hard ass. I don't need to have an abusive father to create a longing to want to protect my brother. It was a problem for me. But yeah, so there's that. We can talk about the third act of the movie, where I think things narratively kind of got out of whack.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with one of the negatives that I saw, at least. For the first part of the movie, I really couldn't understand why Hailee Steinfeld needed to be white and why there needed to be an Asian couple in 1930s Mississippi.
I had almost completely looked over Hailee Steinfeld being being in there. If you wanted to tell a story about mulatto women, you probably should have cast a light-skinned black woman. And so when I'm hearing these interviews and Hailee Steinfeld's talking about, you know, her biracial grandfather, which would make her like at most an eighth black. Okay, so we're trying to tell a story about black people in the deep South who are just phenotypically white, right? Who are just so light skinned that they are white passing, but are ethnically, culturally, and genetically black. Hailee Steinfeld is neither ethnically, culturally, or genetically to the majority black. She's like somewhere in the 70s or 80% Anglo-Saxon. Why are we doing this thing where, like, oh my God, you listen to her talk black? Oh, she's got a sprinkle of that black girl magic. So now Hailee Steinfeld's black? Come on, y'all. No. Stop doing that. Stop letting any and every goddamn body you can see into this. Okay? Hailee Steinfeld has an affinity for her biracial grandfather. That's great. This movie helped her expand on that history and learn more. That's also great. Doesn't mean that she has a lifelong pass to the damn cookout because she can do a black accent.
No.
For that, then y'all might as well invite Awkwafina back. Y'all might as well bring her back.
Yeah, well, she could have played the... Never mind. Anyway, no, I found the irony in that, you know, what you're saying, being that I feel, and this is just, I guess, a theory of mine, is that we're making a commentary on gatekeeping. I mean, if you look at it, you know, all the black people are inside having a good old time, and it takes the white woman to go mess with the vampires and come back and bring them into the situation, and it takes the Asian woman to invite them once everything is all said and done. Like I thought that was a commentary on gatekeeping.
Yeah, let's talk, because I can't fully give him the credit for that because of some of these things that we're about to talk about, right? So let's talk about the Asian lady. Mm-hmm. She sees her husband is clearly turned. They drag her back into the juke joint. She then starts to scream, "Come on in, motherfuckers." So let me get this straight. We've already established that they can't get in here without an invitation. We've also established that we're only a few hours away from sunrise, so we need to hunker down and you know, obviously
stay
inside, but protect ourselves, right? And get some weapons ready and stuff like that. So then and they also told her, because she was arguing whether or not they should go out there and fight them, they were at Lindo like, man, I don't think they're going nowhere. I don't think they're going to get your daughter. We just seen them doing a fucking river dance. They ain't going nowhere. Mm-hmm. Right? And the closer we get to sunup, the less likely they are to go hunt down your daughter because the sun will be up. Mm-hmm. Duh. Right? No. Come on in, motherfucker. So why she said that, why they allowed her to say that, I will never understand. If it's the gatekeeping thing that you said, then I'll take that. But then you also have to take the penalty of it not making sense within the context of the story. Random as fucking hell. You know what doesn't make sense on top of that? The fact that after that completely improvised, didn't see that coming, we're actively trying to stop you from doing it moment. The guns and the weapons are conveniently placed right behind us. So the only thing we got to do is turn around and get set and point and shoot. How the fuck did that happen?
Yeah, we were eating garlic cloves.
How did we get from no, don't say that, don't do that, to we're ready, locked and loaded? Yeah. What?
We were literally just panicking at Delroy Lindo eating a garlic clove and it not sitting right with him. Now all of a sudden we're all prepared with arms ready.
What in the hell?
That's true.
How did we set up perfectly for this scenario that just kind of happened randomly? Number one, or that's two, because the yelling thing was pretty dumb as well. Okay, so the fight ensues. We get inside of the building. Everybody, there's a melee. At some point, the vampires just get up and run out, as if like, I don't know. It was just random as shit.
Yeah.
Like why did they just get up and everybody leave? Kind of how like when Haley bit Smoke. Yeah, when she bit Smoke and then she just got up and ran out
instead of just feasting,
continuing to feast. Right? Everybody did that shit. Everybody did that shit. Cornbread got up and walked off after he got shot.
Smoker Stack, whichever
Smoker Stack. The fucking the vampires that were in there at the end of the movie just got up, ran the fuck out. Okay, but you know what? Don't you worry, they coming the fuck back, because Delroy Lindo has a random sacrifice scene. Again, why are we so committed to killing everybody? And I mean everyone.
Because Delroy had to go out like a G.
The Asian lady had to die, I understand.
Yes.
Annie had to die, I understand. Right? And that even happened within the natural flow of the movie. Smoke was already dead. Steinfeld was already dead. But why did Delroy Lindo's character have to die?
He had to go out like a G, bro.
He asked he literally called him back in. They ran out of the place. They only came back in after he cut his wrist as everybody was escaping. They like, come on, we going out the back. Delroy Lindo like, it's okay, I'm gonna bring him to me. Why? Why? What are we writing? Why are you doing that? Escape out the back with everybody else. Okay, so they go out the back. O'Connell's out there. He grabs Sammy. Grabs him, takes him to the river, right? Now we at the river.
O'Connell was his last name, the actor's last name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's Remick, I guess, is the character's name.
Remick O'Connell?
No, it's just Remick. The actor's name is Jack O'Connell.
Oh, his actual name is O'Connell. That's where I got the O'Connell from. Okay, cool. Yeah. Remick. Whatever. Yeah. Right? Sammy drags him out, takes him to the river with his merry bunch of newfound or newly turned vampires, and we're going to have a nice long talk. Now, I you're much more accepting of this trope than I are.
But it happens all the time.
But dog, how fucking long do we talk? I mean, there's a point in the dialogue where he says, I'm going to take you down the long road of death. And I said, when? When do the fucking bus get here? When is it? Because it seems like it's about 10 minutes late. We've had enough time to fight with Smoke and Stack upstairs, make it all the way out the juke, down to the water in the pond, down past all the unsuspecting vampires because they're surrounding Remick at this point, and stabs him in the back. You mean it was that long that I could take him out of here by the neck, do all this fucking talking, he could still fight Smoke, the dead Smoke, make it out the juke, make it through all these fucking vampires before I've laid a fucking finger on the kid? I haven't even started to pull him apart. I haven't done him at all. I ain't even bleed him yet. I'm so fucking frustrated at this point because he just keeps talking and talking and talking. It's down the long road of death. No, you're not. You ain't going down no long roads. You should have already been down that road. You in park haven't even started driving yet. Literally just talking to give Michael B. Jordan enough time to get there to interfere.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Convenient plot.
Yeah.
Okay, but it doesn't end there. Oh, no. We gonna take this shit all the way through the entire third act. So he gets stabbed. boom, starts dying because now the sun's coming up. I didn't talk so fucking much. Sunrise is here.
Which is, it's crazy how fast
sunrise is here. But the madness doesn't end because as he's burning up, I guess everybody else just wanted to go out with him except for Haley Steinfeld and Michael B. Jordan, which lets me know that, yeah, they were able to draw away from him. They were able to break away from him because Michael B. and Mary and Stack, or Mary and Smoke got out. No, it's Stack. It's Stack. Stack. Sorry. Stack is the one that got changed. Got to remember because he had the brass, the gold knuckles with his name on it.
Y'all noticing shit that I'm just not even noticing. So I could not remember which one was Smoking.
It was Stack. It was Stack is the one that got turned into a vampire.
Okay.
So Stack,
and then that turned into a 4-finger ring at the end. Is that what?
Yes.
Okay.
Stack and Mary were able to run away. They didn't just stand there in the pile of vampires as the sun was coming up and burn alive. So if they were able to do that, why didn't anybody else? Why did they just sit there and die? Why were we all standing outside the closer we were getting to him and sunrise? Are these vampires that don't know to go to ground? They know everything else. They know to be invited. They know that they don't like garlic. But they don't know when sunrise is? They don't know to go to ground the closer they get to sunrise?
Stack's will was so much better than the vampires.
Stop.
That's why he didn't kill Sammy at the end of the movie or at the post-credit scene.
So it's still not done. Still not done. Because Sammy leaves Smoke, goes and drives to the church with his guitar and sees his preacher father. Right? Whole time, Stack is remembering, oh shit, the KKK was supposed to pull up and kill us. Random ass plot thread that just needed to happen.
You only did that to have him kill the KKK.
No. That's not why he did it. That needed to happen so that he could die and meet up with Annie.
Okay, so
because we couldn't possibly write this story and make it so that Annie and Smoke live happily ever after in the wake of his brother's death. No, fuck no. Everybody has to die because this isn't a beautiful scene if everybody doesn't die. Every last woman and child except for Sammy has to fucking die.
But we're still in agreement that the KKK scene didn't necessarily need to happen.
No, it absolutely didn't need to happen. It didn't need to happen. The only thing that happened of that is that Smoke got shot in the lung, died, and got to meet his unborn child. Mm-hmm. Because that's beauty. Is that beautiful? That's beautiful. Really. So he already had a child that they lost between them. Then he loses Annie. And the only way that he can be reunited with them is if he goes out and gets into a shootout with the fucking KKK and dies. Why? Write something different. That didn't happen. He doesn't have to die. He survived vampires only to die by hand of KKK. That's what we wanted of that? We wanted him to go through an entire night of surviving vampires only to be murdered by the fucking KKK. I'm mad, y'all. I'm mad because all of this are decisions that are being made. We are no longer in the realm of, oh, this isn't his IP. Oh, Disney would make him do this and that and the third. No. All original IP, all his ideas from scratch. Not to mention some of this shit that they was talking about and some of these concepts that he was working with is hand-me-downs from Bitterroot. And I didn't really want to get into that too much. But when he was talking about the runes and the roots and all that other stuff, do you got any roots to bring my brother back? He's literally quoting Bitterroot. But even at that, he is making these decisions. He's making it a decision for Smoke and Stack to be products of abuse. He made a decision to make it so that Stack had to murder their own father. He made a decision to make sure that Annie and Smoke would never know peace together in the living world.
Or that Sammy decides to leave his father in the church to go to Chicago and presumably never speak to him again for no reason.
So what are we trying to tell here? Because I often hear celebrities when they're getting their flowers talk about God and how they keep God with them. But in this scene, it seems like we're drawing a line, right? Like we could have had that it's been a couple of different movies where this happened, where like the young daughter goes, or the young sibling or the child of the preacher goes off and pursues a life in show business and finds out that the devil was there, and they have a lot of downfalls, and they make their way back to the church in some singing scene where the pastor embraces them again, coming back to the church. This was part of that, but it seems like the twist on it was, I came back to show you I am who I am, and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Almost seeming like you're forsaking the church in that way. Why is it that you couldn't reconcile with your father and then continue with your recording career at the same time?
Especially after having a literal encounter with who's supposed to be the devil?
Is that now that is the whole time we fighting the devil the whole time. Whole time we fighting the devil, only for you to go back to the church and then reject it? Now, which one is it? Can we take God in with us in everything we do, or do we have to forsake God to go off and do what we want to do? Choose. But don't call yourself God-fearing and then make up an excuse as to why it's okay to segment the church. On top of that, you had an opportunity to show a story of reconciliation. His father's still alive. And so after hearing the story about Stack having to dead his own father, you would have thought that would have given him all the opportunity to say, God, Dad, I am who I am, but I still love you. I still love the Lord. I want to come back. Please embrace me. And all of that is open because you're writing it. This thing can be whatever you want it to be. You're choosing to make it a story about a son who just can't get along with his God-fearing father, which is a tragic enough story for real people enough all over. How about some fantasy where that doesn't have to be that way? How about some fantasy where you get to have both the Lord and show business? How about a reality where we don't have to fucking choose? Because what you telling me right now is that you can't have it. You can't have it both ways. So subsequently, when I look at you celebrities and I look at people who, might have come up through the church and made it into to show business, am I to assume that you had to leave a certain bit of that behind you? Because there was no way that you could do both? Is that what I'm supposed to take from the scene? Because that's what you showed us. There is just very little attention to having care over black families. There was a lot of attention to showing black contributions to culture, black contributions to music. There was a lot of attention showed to that. There was no attention showed to how we gonna make it out together. And so for this movie to having this big of a cultural impact, it's kind of upsetting that he chose to take this kind of route, that he chose to deploy that many tropes when he didn't have to, when there was no excuse to, when it absolutely would not have materially changed the outcome or the impact of the film to just flatten a few of those things out and not have an abusive father and not have a murder by a son. It just didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
And again, we were at a point where now you were totally unencumbered. Nobody made you do this. This wasn't a character that already existed, even though you've taken characters that weren't necessarily written in that right and you reversed. And you put a more dire, a more downtrodden feel on the character and the narrative of them overall to serve the purpose of the main character that you wanted. I also don't think that it is a fucking surprise that the only person to get to keep their life is Michael B. Jordan.
Of course.
How was this an Avengers film exactly?
I didn't see that, so that's
what is going to be the follow-up to this film? What does Sinners 2 even look like? Sammy? Like
Michael
what?
B. Jordan and Mary as hip hop producers.
Like I get it. 25 years, ownership reverts back to you. You're expecting to build upon this. Where does it go? Where does it go?
A different story told a different way. I don't know.
If they start portaling up, like if they start opening up portals to the past, coming from alternate dimensions and stuff like that, he owes David Walker a check. there's nothing original about that. Like the similarities were so light that I didn't necessarily make it a 1-to-1. Like this is definitely original. So don't get me wrong in what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he copied David Walker. I'm saying that if he gets any closer, that is what I'm going to have to start saying. If he gets any closer than the light references that he made in the dialogue in this movie, because Yumi's character is very close to the matriarchal character in the books. It's very close. A lot of the references that they make are dead on ringers to the Bitterroot story. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Overall, I thought it was go ahead.
I just wanted to say I did see somebody make a suggestion that the next one, if they make another one, should be a prequel where they show them in Chicago.
Okay. Sure. I mean, that would certainly extend it. I don't know how that would take us deeper into the
lore of
the mythical, and all of that other stuff.
Probably wouldn't. But I feel like a lot of people probably want to see what they were like in Chicago.
Overall, it was a solid film. It was a great film to look at. It was a great film to listen to. If you were looking for the most tightly written script, and this is crazy because I made this kind of half-baked criticism of the film before I had even seen it, and lo and behold, if you were looking for the tightly written script possible, then I don't see how it could possibly be the film for you. But there is enough positive here that it deserves all of the flowers it's getting. It deserves a rewatch. It deserves the positive praise that it's getting. I want to be able to have a creator other than Issa Rae that sees the value in promoting black relationships the same way we see them with our white counterparts. Mm-hmm. In all different type of varieties, not just trauma, not just broken.
Yeah.
Broken is a part of that. Trauma written is a part of that. It's a part of telling real world storytelling. But are you ever going to introduce to your very white audience anything other than black trauma? I have the same question for 50 Cent. I have the same question for Tyler Perry. Because it seems like the only creator who's interested in doing that and doing it consistently is Issa Rae.
Jordan Peele?
I don't think relationships are necessarily his focus, but sure.
Okay.
At least in Us, the family stayed together.
That's kind of what I was
At least in Us, the family got a chance to survive.
Yeah.
At least then Get Out, the black guy actually lived.
Yeah.
He got out of his straits. He didn't have to die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Shout out to Sammy, I guess.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sammy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I obviously I agree with some of the negative portions of it. I think during the actual movie watching experience, though, some of those things were just minor annoyances for me.
They kind of went by.
Yeah.
They went by. But
until obviously the end of the movie. But
we also do have to realize that is becoming the norm.
Yeah, I agree.
That when we get on screen in these major productions, we can't do it the same way that our white counterparts do.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's definitely worth stating. Like I said, I just think in the actual experience itself, I didn't really reflect on some of that right away.
Oh no. Now I will definitely give you a little bit, not you, but the viewership, if you didn't view it that way the first time, for sure. Mm-hmm. Now that I've said it, go back and rewatch the movie, and I challenge you not to see those themes.
And while I agree with it being one of the top movies of the year, well, we're still pretty early, but still, 10 out of 10.
No.
8.5, 9.
No.
But I
gave it a 7.
Yeah.
I gave it a 7.
I might give it an 8.
It's an above average film that has a lot of good cultural ties that are going to get people back into the theaters to see it. It is flawed in its writing. Mm-hmm. It is flawed in its messaging. And it personally offended me at a couple of different points.
That's fair.
So that's all I can say about
I will
it.
also say I would recommend it and probably rewatch it myself. So there hasn't been a black. No, that's not true. I was gonna say there hasn't been a black movie to do that since Black Panther, but that's not true. That's not true. But I would rewatch it. I would recommend it. So
even in the Black Panther, it's like I wanted to give him bail for Black Panther, but like,
and that's how I
T'Chaka
feel.
did not murder his brother.
Yeah,
he just didn't. And Jobu is a character that you made up. You made up a character so that that T'Challa's father could murder him. Mm-hmm. And again, we take those things like, and we say, oh well, you know, it had to be this way, it had to be that way, he had to find a way to get to this, I don't think he did. I don't think he had to do that. Mm-hmm. Just like he didn't have to make Apollo a deadbeat. Didn't have to do that. Because look at what Michael B. Jordan's doing in the comic book. He's flipped that entire thing on its head. In the comic book, Adonis has siblings of Apollo Creed that he has known about for years. Has been able to have a family connection. You let Ryan Coogler handle it, Adonis got thrown away like trash and put into the system. And didn't get a chance to get pulled out of it until Apollo's ex-wife saw it fit to come and grab him.
Yeah.
So not only are we dragging the patriarch through the mud, but the matriarch is his only saving. Permanently putting the males in that family structure, in the ain't shit space, in the women in the savior space. Is that not already part of the nonsensical culture war shit that we see on the internet day in and day out? Are you not just feeding into the same age-old stereotypes? Black men ain't shit, don't want to take care of their kids. Thank God for black women for holding down the household. When we gonna stop doing that, man? You a black man your goddamn self. Raising black children. Is that how you want them to see you? So then why do we all have to wear that? You know, that's enough for the review. And we're not even reviewing the movie no more at this point. I'm just basically talking to Ryan Coogler. You tell us what you thought about Sinners. Tell us what you thought about the movie. Give your honest opinions. As always, like, share, subscribe. Come back for more movie and television reviews.
Absolutely. Make sure you check out our playlist full of reviews, movie reviews, and also our playlist for Behind the Cape, where we talk about TV and film rumors and news. And make sure you subscribe, because obviously we like to do reviews like this. Peace.